Hello again. This is a quick look at the Nikon 60mm f2.8 micro lens. It's basically a macro lens. I'm not sure what the reasoning is for the micro name. It's just what they call it, but it's basically a macro. It's basically 60mm on a full frame APS-C size camera, like a Nikon D 7200 or 7000. It would end up being, I guess, around a 90mm lens. And the thing to remember is this is not a lens with a built-in motor, focus motor, so you can't use it on some of the low-end Nikon like D3000 series bodies. Just check the manual, make sure that your camera has a built-in focus motor in the body before you use this, if you want to use autofocus, because this won't autofocus with the some of those bodies that don't have a built-in focus motor, because it has the little drive screw here on it that is driven by the motor in the body for focusing. But basically this is a really nice lens, really cheap right now. I think they actually still make it new for around $550, but you can find them all over eBay and used in other places for $200, $180, somewhere in that time price range. And they're really in really good, excellent quality. This one almost looks new, and I paid like $180 for it. It's a 62mm thread on the front. The lens is actually very far down in there, so a lot of times you don't really need a hood on it. But if this little button right here changes from autofocus to manual. So if you press that button, turn it, it'll be in the manual focus, and you got to turn it until it catches. But then you'll notice the front comes out, and you see how the element moves around in there. But the other thing about this is it's not f2.8 throughout the focal range. The focusing focal range throughout the focusing. If you are at infinity, it'll be f2.8. But if you're focusing very close, I've noticed that it actually stops down to about f4.2, I think is what it maxes out at. But that close, if you're focused that close to something, you're going to need probably more than f4.2 anyway to get something sufficiently sharp and enough depth of field to be useful. So it's not a big deal, but it's just something interesting to notice. So there is a focus limit switch here. Basically it just keeps it from hunting all the way back and forth through the whole focus range. So if you want to limit that, your subject's in a certain distance and you don't want it to keep hunting way back and forth, you can do that. But it does have it is the old the D style lens. It's not the G style lens where the focus motor is built in, but it has the aperture ring on it here. And there's really not much else more to say about it, other than the reason I wanted to do the video is it's not a really well-known lens. I think a lot of people do know about it, but I don't think people realize how good of a lens it is. It's very sharp and has very nice smooth bokeh, or bouquet, however you want to pronounce that, depending on where you are. The out of focus area behind the subject that you're focusing on. Very smooth and creamy in my opinion. So if you're interested in a really nice lens that's cheap and a macro lens, and especially if you're on full frame, actually it'd be a really good lens for APS-C size bodies too, like a D7000 or 7200, because then it's maybe a little bit better depending on what you want. It ends up being more like a 90mm lens instead of a 60 because of the crop factor. So that's it, and I'll post the gallery of images I have created with this lens on several different cameras, like the D200, D700, and the D750 most recently. Thanks for watching.